the purpose of this event is to raise awareness towards public mental health, as well as the importance of mental health, as well as suicidal tendencies. Hence, we have invited today Puan Alia Ali, the founder of AWAS, as our guest today to talk further about the importance of mental health and suicide prevention. Hello, and
Hello.
welcome, Puan Alia. Welcome, Puan Alia.
Thank you. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you very well. How are you doing, madam?
Okay, I'm doing all right. Thank you very much. First and most of all, Ami. Can I call you Ami? Is that all right?
Of course, you can call me Amir.
Okay, yes, I am Alia. My name is Alia, but I would love to be called Kak Nga. Okay? So,
I don't think I'll remember that. I'm so sorry. But I will try to call you Kak, much as I can.
Yeah, that's my my nickname, my advocacy name. I love that name. It gives me strength. So I would appreciate if you call me Kak. Tapi kalau if you accidentally call me Alia pun, it's alright. But I'll remind you from time to time.
Okay, that is great. Obviously, I'm happy to hear that. So, before I start everything, before I get into the questions, can you please share us a bit about what does AWAS is about? What is the activity of AWAS? What do you guys try to do to help?
All right. Before I start, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good afternoon. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Diploma. Congrats to students of Diploma Corporation Com Sem 4. Is that right? Corporation. Yes. Communication. That's a mouthful. Sem 4. Congratulations for having this campaign, and it's great to be here. I'm honored. At the same time, I feel like it's really good that you guys are having this this event, because we need to normalize conversations, right? A lot of people are not comfortable talking about mental health, right? Even suicide, but it's something that we have to talk about so that we can be okay talking about it and discussing about it. So to start off, Amir, thank you for your question. A little bit about my background. I have a degree in psychology. I have a bachelor's in science and psychology and a master's degree in development studies and culture change. I am a mental health advocate. I have been active for quite some time. I am also a suicide loss survivor. Suicide loss survivor meaning I have lost a loved one to suicide. Yeah, I'm sorry too, and that's the reason why I'm here, Amir, is to talk about it. To make sure that people know that mental health is serious. Mental health issues are serious, and to take it seriously. So that's pretty much my background, and I have also been diagnosed with MDD, major depressive disorder, and generalized anxiety disorder. So basically, it's clinical depression and anxiety, clinical anxiety. So being up here, being someone with experience, lived experience, that's the reason why I'm advocating for this, and I want people or students to talk about it more, talk about mental health, because it shouldn't be something that is embarrassing. It shouldn't be stigmatized, and we all need to come together and talk about it like any other illnesses. So yeah.
I agree very much on that notion, because personally, mental health is a problem that not everyone advocates as well as discusses about it very naturally. And even if they do, people don't really look at it. So it's a very nice thing that you are advocating for these kinds of problems together. Of course, thank you so much for the answer. So about AWAS, is there any specific purpose the organization is trying to set up, such as either helping people more, or is there a specific way on how AWAS helps people?
Definitely. AWAS is actually a program under Yayasan Zurek Care. It's been I initiated AWAS anonymously because I too was scared and stigmatized, and I was not comfortable talking about it, discussing about mental health issues and being a suicide loss survivor. So I started anonymously, and then I decided to propose to the Yayasan Zurat Care to adopt it as a program because, as we know, like suicide issues and mental health issues are on the rise. So we need to have, ours needs to have a body. So now it's under Yayasan Zurat Care. But ours specifically have three main, we have three main objectives. Number one is to create suicide awareness. Number two is to support mental health and suicide prevention work. And number three is to provide postvention support. Okay, Ami, let me ask you, do you know what postvention support is? Have you heard of it? Has anyone here heard of postvention?
I have never heard of that situation. Can you please explain more about what is that?
Okay. You're breaking up. Okay. Postvention. Okay. As we know, awareness is awareness. We hear a lot about suicide awareness and suicide prevention, right? But postvention is specifically for the community, support within the community that has actually lost an individual to suicide. For instance, in a school, in college, in university, in workplace, people have lost colleagues, friends, neighbors to suicide, right? So sometimes they witness it, sometimes they are traumatized by it, sometimes they feel, the burden of guilt because they feel like they didn't do enough to help that person. So postvention is a program or is a support within the community. We provide support so that people don't feel like they are alone in dealing with it, dealing with the trauma, dealing with the pain. And especially people who are bereaved by suicide, like family members and friends, they too can get support from the postvention support. So yeah. You were moving about. Are you okay?
I am fine. I just went out to go get my charger. That's okay.
Okay. Awesome.
So, that was a very noble thing to understand about. It's very nice that you guys are trying to advocate to help people who are undergoing certain suicidal as well as depressive tendencies. To me, I think it's a great thing that people are slowly understanding that suicidal people aren't exactly caused by certain out of this realm kind of situations. Probably some mental problems, probably the things that they have been going through. And that is a very nice thing to hear about what's going on. Can I please go to the next question, if that's okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so these days, many of us are struggling with overwhelming stress as the pace and demands of life increases. People's lives gets much harder. Even school these days, people's expectation on being the best in class is a staggeringly great amount of stress towards even students at the age of 12 and under. So I believe mental health is a top priority. So what do you think are the key factors that can improve mental health? Like, what kind of things that we can cope with? Maybe how can we improve our situational in that we're upset or something?
Wow, that's very interesting. I was a student as well, twice in university, of course. So because of I did my bachelor's and then I worked for a bit and then I went back to college for my master's, right? So being a student, we all know, you and I both know that sleep is something that we don't get enough. Sorry? Sorry, I lost you there.
It is a very rare commodity, basically.
I know, right? Yeah. So sleep is something that we don't get enough. Basically, all the healthy things, all the healthy lifestyle, exercising, enough sleep, nutritious food. These are all basic things that we all know, actually. But sometimes as students, we tend to neglect. I myself, when I was a student, and still now, if I have assignments or things that I have to work on, sometimes I still do sleep until 4 in the morning and try to complete my work, and then in the morning present, and then things like that. And I'm sure you guys are doing the same too, and it's much harder now that you are doing online studying and whatnot, right? But the basic things are important. It's easy to say, okay, have enough sleep, have 8 hours of sleep. But the reality is, it's not easy to do, especially when you're surrounded by, friends and things to do, right? See, the thing is, everyone has mental health, but not everyone has mental illness or mental health disorders. So if we take care of our mental health now, inshallah, hopefully, it doesn't have to turn into a disorder. But if it has turned into a disorder, or if it's on the way to becoming a disorder, it's still okay. We still need to take care of our well-being, our rest, our food, our exercise, because we tend to, even I tend to take exercising for granted, but actually through exercising, all the good hormones will be released, like, all the endorphins, all the, serotonin and all the good stuff, right? So we'll feel relaxed and all that. So, basically, we have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of our mental health. It's really necessary now more than ever. And it's easier now, I feel, because of the pandemic. It's easier to talk about it more than before. Because before, if you say you're stressed, or if you complain that you're depressed or things like that, people will like frown upon you, and people feel like you are just trying to seek for attention and things like that. But these days, I feel like people are more understanding. I don't know about you. What about you, as a college student, Amir? Do you feel like, people are more open, students are more open about it?
My personal experience with depression has been going date back since I was, a child. Ever since I was young, I always experienced things that very differently from this perspective. I always experienced with some levels of loneliness and some levels of abandonment from my friends. So personally, for me, depression to me has always been a natural occurring thing. I've always dealt with it every year. So
sorry, I mean, when you say depressed, are you talking about clinical depression, or you're feeling depressed?
Down with emotions.
Okay.
Sometimes
Okay.
I will struggle with my own self, my own personal identity, maybe.
Right.
So I don't.
But you've never gone for treatment, have you?
Pushing. I don't push myself to go overboard and thinking about it. Instead, I just try my best to be with people that I care with, people that cares about me, and try and get help ways that I like to do. Maybe I just enjoy. To me, I just play video games all day. So when I was a kid, I only used video games as a way to escape my school life, or maybe like with my friends and family. That's how I treat my problems sometimes. I cannot do much about it, I just put myself forward in ways that nobody really expects it.
Right. But being around healthy, people who are good for our mental health is a good thing. It's a good, way of dealing with our stress and all that, right? Because if we were to surround ourselves with people who are stressful, who have negative vibes and all that, we will become more depressed or more stressed out and all that, right? So we need to find people who are good for mental health, definitely.
Of course, it's not something that is very obvious. You have to really seek out treatment if you want help. It's not like a disease. It's not very obvious that you can see, or you cannot feel it. So it's something that you have to go over with some of your friends. You have to discuss it with people. So why not?
Yeah.
People experience some help.
Diana says fighting.
Thank you so much. So you always have these emotions back if you want some help. Well then, enough gloating about myself. Can I go on to the next situation? The next question. Awas, by any chance, have you experienced in treating someone with severe mental health issues? Do you want to share any experiences? Maybe some activities that happened back that have happened back in the day.
Okay. I am not a psychologist, even though my degree is in psychology. People who can treat other people are usually like psychiatrists or clinical psychologists. In my case, I am not. I consider myself a mental health advocate, and although I practice mental health on a daily basis, but I am not. I cannot treat a person, but I can provide emotional support, and that's what I've been doing. the few things, the experiences that I remember mostly was going all the way to Johor. I drive I'm in KL or Selangor right now. I drove all the way to Johor. A total stranger texted me DM me on Awas and said she has been hearing voices and she has been acting pretty hostile towards her cat. She loves her cat very, very much, but to the point where she was hurting the cat and she was angry at herself for being that way. So she said she wants to see a psychiatrist because she was hearing voices. And I said, wow, how do you know that you should see a psychiatrist? Because usually it takes a while to get, to pujo or to get people to go see a psychiatrist, right? But in her case, she straight up said that she needs to see a psychiatrist. Because when I asked her personal experience is that she has an aunt who has schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is a condition where they hear voices or see things, hallucinate. So she said she was hearing voices and she is so used to it, like looking at her aunt. So she said she knows that she needs professional help. So she said she's been wanting to go seek a psychiatrist, and I said you should go to Klinik Kesehatan, because I asked her which do you prefer, private or public. She said she needs to go to public health facilities. So I said, okay, go to Klinik Kesehatan. She said, I went twice, but I was rejected by the medical officer. And I was like, how come? She said, I don't know. The medical officer said I was stressed or I need to learn relaxation breathing techniques and whatnot. And I said, no, but you're already hearing voices and, you're already telling stories or sharing things that you are very hostile or, angry towards your surrounding, your cat and everything. So she said, yeah, please help me. Is there a way for you to help me, Kak? And I was like, yeah, definitely. So I contacted a psychiatrist in Johor. And then the psychiatrist said, yeah, bring her in. So I went down all the way. That was the time during PKP, the MCO was lifted up. So I went to Johor, accompanied her to the psychiatrist, and she got her medication. And until today, we are still in touch. We have a buddy system in Awas where we will keep in touch with one another and text one another, just to make sure, to keep up, make sure they are keeping up with their medication or, going for their appointments and, things like that. So, there are also other instances where people have lost loved ones to suicide and they contacted me frantically, saying like, I've lost my loved ones to suicide. What do I do? So, again, because of the MCO, I couldn't be. She's away. She's not in Selangor, but I couldn't be there for her. But I was always constantly on the phone with her, and these are moments where I feel like I feel like being a suicide loss survivor. I feel like it's like a purpose for me to help other people in need of help. And these are the stories, these are the two stories that I remember most, but there are also other people who are texting me and thanking me for the help and support. And some of them are placed in a peer support group. We have a support group for suicide loss survivors where people it's a small community, by the way, but we can share with each other, ventilate to each other and rant or whatever, when we're stressed or in need of emotional support. And we also share things or, educational stuff, information on how to cope with stress, how to cope with loss, grief, and things like that. So these are some of the stories. There's a lot more, but these are some that I want to share. Yeah.
Well, it goes to show that some of the stories that you cannot share are probably very important. But with the amount of stories that you cannot share, it just goes to show how much you are able to help others in dealing with their problems. So it's a very noble thing that you are trying to help others regardless of your situation. So it's a very interesting take on what you have been doing for it. Personally, for me, I have never tried helping others because I've never had the confidence to try and help others on their personal problems because I am not good at dealing with my own. So I don't push myself. So I don't want to disturb people's situations myself.
But sometimes we feel like because we're not equipped, right? Like we think that we might say the wrong things or might, put the person at a more, yeah. Are you hearing me clearly, Amit? Because it's really, there's a lot of noise here.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Let me turn it down. Sorry. Okay.
Oh, it's you. Like there's a music there? No, I'm talking about the line, like noise with the line, I feel.
Is it? Oh, there's noises. Okay. Let me try and. So can you hear me more clearly now?
Yeah, better now. Yes.
Wonderful. Yeah. So yeah, personally, from my experience, I'm not very good at helping others. I think I sometimes reject people who are trying to seek help, and of course, I would feel regret over it. I would. I should have tried my best to be there for my friends. Sometimes I cannot. Happens before. Yeah. So that's just my personal experience, at least.
Right. But sometimes we don't want to help because we feel like we might say the wrong things, right? We're worried that we'll say the wrong things, or sometimes we need to take care of our mental health first, right? Because if we're not ready, if we're disturbed or we're like really stressed out and depressed, we can't afford to help other people, right? So our mental health is always number one, before we could extend our help to others as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone can help each other, and not everyone can try and be there for everyone. And sometimes
Right.
it feels more burden rather than helping. Sometimes towards some people.
But the important message that we need to convey here is that if we know someone who is struggling with their mental health, right, who are clearly depressed, you can look it up, all the early signs of depression or early signs of warning signs of suicide. These are important to learn, I feel, because sometimes we don't know. Like a suicide loss survivor, being a suicide loss survivor, we tend to overlook or we tend to dismiss when people are struggling with, because we think that it's just a phase. But you really don't know when is the last straw that would break the camel's back. So if we know someone who is struggling, who is really obvious that they are struggling with their mental health, we need to, if we can't afford to help them personally, we need to channel them to somebody who can afford to help them. It's really important.
Yeah. Sometimes people have emotional states where they just can't handle it anymore, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of them have mental breakdowns. So certain mental some of them may be unstable, but you have to give them the benefit of the doubt, especially if they cannot control their emotions, especially people who are genuinely suffering from mental disorders. Really cannot. Speaking of people who need help, I'm gonna ask the question: is there a way we can contact you or ours if we need help, or simply need someone to talk to? Is there anyone who can seek help, of course, from ours themselves?
Most definitely. We go by, there's a number if you go to our Instagram, and I can say it out loud as well, 01023444808. But the number you can find it in our Instagram and Facebook. It's a care line for texting. So that means we do not answer calls. Why we do not answer calls is because we would want to complement the services out there. For instance, Befrienders and other NGOs provide hotline calling. We don't. We provide texting because, number one, texting is we feel like it's more appealing to the young ones, the younger generation, because, and also suicide rate is highest amongst people aged 15 to 18, and we feel that the age group 15 to 18 are more comfortable texting. We have noticed that. And also when texting, you don't have to keep repeating your stories, because sometimes if you call today, one person, a volunteer, like for instance, a hotline, somebody answered today, and then 3 weeks from now, you have to repeat your story because a different person would answer. But through texting, it's the same people would answer you and reply to you. So yes, we have a text care line. Please text us whenever you feel down or whenever you feel like you need information, extra information. If you feel like you're wondering if you're actually clinically depressed, or if you're actually wondering if you're clinically anxious and you would like to know, or you feel like there's something not quite okay or not quite right, and you want to talk about it, you want to know services, reach out, text us, and we will reply and respond to you. Even if, to the extent of if you need a company for your first appointment to the doctor, we would accompany you, because we want to encourage people to seek help, especially when they are in acute phase, when they are feeling suicidal, because we, life is precious, and we don't want to lose anyone, anyone.
Well, to prevent people from feeling down or feeling upset with their mental problems. So, as someone who has experience in treating patients, do you have any advice to at least try and help them contain their emotional stress? Maybe if they are undergoing depression, anxiety, or even flat out suicidal tendencies. Is there any advice you can give out to the people out there so you can share about how they can help themselves before it gets any worse?
I would say it's okay to not be okay. Please know that we all struggle at times, and if you need help, if you feel like you're really depressed, or your functioning is no longer as per normal, like you cannot get up in the morning, or you sleep too much or sleep too little, or these signs, please find out, and take care of each other, look out for the signs. But most importantly, if you are on medication, if you are already on medication, please take your meds. But if you're not, and you feel like you need to seek professional help, don't be shy, don't be scared. Reach out to friends who you feel you can trust to, or if you don't feel like you're comfortable enough to talk to your friends, you can talk to us, somebody who's neutral, somebody who you don't know, but are willing to help out. And also, it's important to know that there are people who care. Don't feel like, although that you feel alone, you feel like you're struggling alone, but do know there are people who care, and there are people who want to help. So yeah, it's really important to seek help and be well. But also, don't worry too much about the stigma. I feel because stigma is there, people will always say something, like we are always worried about what people say, right? I think we all started that way. We all feel that way. I started that way as well. But after a while, after communicating, after articulating my needs, knowing that I am unwell and need help, need that support, I feel stronger now that I'm surrounded by people who care and people who want to help. So all of us need to do the same. We need to be surrounded by people who care and who want to be there and who will support our journey. So yeah.
Of course. And speaking of advice to people who need help, what about advice for people who are a bit shy, or maybe they want to actually seek help from therapists, from friends, or from people who need to seek help? They're a bit too timid to deal with the problem. How do you think they should deal with this and then try to overcome their fears to get help from others specifically?
I think that's why the texting is helpful, especially people who are timid or shy or anxious, very anxious about talking on the phone. You can text us. We don't know you. Even if you want to start a fake account, and just because you want to protect your identity, that's fine, as long as you seek help. It's important to know that you're not the only one struggling, and it's okay to seek help. It's okay to ask for opinion and get help. And perhaps one of the things I could also advise is to do a DASS test. It's called DASS, Depression, Anxiety, Stress Scale, DASS. Take that test. If you feel like you're really stressed out, or you want to know if you're feeling depressed or anxious, try to take that test. You can find it online. It's just a 21 simple questionnaire. Answer it, and from there, you could text us, text ours, or text or call other hotlines as well, and have a conversation. Start a conversation to know, what are the things that you can do to help yourself. But most importantly, you have to believe that it's important to get the help. Yeah.
Okay. So, if anyone else has questions, or if anyone who has anything they want to ask, you guys can leave any questions from the IG Live in the questions box if you press on the below, and hopefully we'll be able to answer some of your questions personally. Maybe if someone's a bit not brave enough to ask right now, that's okay. Just try and keep it up, as well as try to understand that not everyone has to push themselves to interact with everyone. So, I am checking if there's any other questions. I don't see any. Well then, for our last, so I hopefully that everyone will get some levels of help from today's second one, and hopefully everyone will understand that maybe if you need help. Oh, somebody's asking, what is your advice for someone who's struggling with mental? I think, what is your advice for someone who is struggling with mental health but still want to help others? Oh, that's an interesting question. Maybe themselves are, but they still want to help others themselves.
I think that's very noble. That's very noble of you to want to help others while you're struggling. But number one is always to remember to help yourself first. It's okay to help as long as you are quite stable. You can help others. It's like when you are in the aeroplane, right? They always ask you to put on your own seatbelt first, and then put on the seatbelt of the people under your care, or the oxygen mask. If the oxygen mask falls down, you need to put on yours on you first before you put it on, whoever under your care, right? So it's the same thing. Mental health is the same way. You need to be fit yourself in order to help others, because if you're down, if you're not well, if you're unfit yourself, you're really stressed out, you might not be able to help other people and make it worse perhaps, because because we need to be aware and in check of our emotions, our sadness, our anger, and all that. We don't want we don't want to end up hurting or cause more problems to us and other people as well. So it's a really good thing. It's a really good, because for me, like, I'm also going through my treatment, right? I'm like me. I am a person with anxiety, clinical anxiety and depression. But that doesn't stop me from helping other people. But I need to know my limits. I need to know where I am, where I'm at when I want to help. Because if I'm not in a situation, or if I'm not in a condition where I'm really well, perhaps I need to leave the situation first and then come back and revisit the person. Perhaps I need sleep or rest, or other things that would keep my mental health in check first, or things like that. So it's really important to take care of our mental health first before we help others. Yeah.
So, just two more questions I get from the audience. Should we have English to deal with mental health patients to avoid more serious anxiety or depressions? Like, basically, should we acknowledge how to deal with these mental patients to avoid even more serious anxiety or depression? Do you understand? Or
to avoid? Sorry, come again. To avoid?
should we be aware or have the knowledge on how to deal with these mental health patients, or maybe someone who is suffering from these problems, so that we can avoid ourselves from dealing with even serious issues that they might overcome? Maybe if we do not have the proper knowledge on how to deal with them, they might not be able to get help this week, or maybe the situation would escalate even worse just because understand how to deal with them, and then if we accidentally said something that triggers them.
Right. Yes, have that knowledge. Read up about it. If you're, a friend, especially if you're a caring friend, and we all want to be good, good caring friends to, either for our own self, or to take care of others. But it's important to have this knowledge. Read up on bipolar disorder. Read up on depression. Read up on whatever. There are personality disorders too. Read up on it so that we can deal with our friends better. Know your triggers as well. It's good to, because when we read, we become more understanding, hopefully become more understanding, and we will know better, hopefully, to how to deal with them. And also how to deal with ourselves, because we all have our triggers. We all have the, things that we like, we don't like, our trauma, our past experiences that we are dealing with, right? So even if people who do not have a mental health disorders, they still have things that they need to take care of, or look after, or know their strengths and their weaknesses. So it's the same. It's just a mental health disorder. It's a condition that can be that's something that you can learn about and help. Because if you are equipped with the knowledge and experience, and then you can deal with your friend, with that person better. Because sometimes we want to have a relationship with these people, right? Whether, even if you don't want to have a relationship, sometimes you have a group assignment, group project that you have to work with them, like it or not. Or in the future, we might have colleagues who has mental health condition, or our own children, or our own spouse, later girlfriend, boyfriends, right? So it's really important how to know all these things. Just like if you have a loved one or a friend who has diabetes, who has cancer, wouldn't you want to read up and learn more about their condition so that you can support them better, or deal with them better? So these are just normal things that we need to be aware of and learn, so that we can have a more harmonious life. Yeah.
Well, it's always something that is much better to know, understand before you deal with something. Just like any job you need to deal with, you have to go through some levels of training or maybe some levels of education to understand before
Exactly.
you want to actually help people. And just like doctors, there's a reason why psychologists exist. They have proper education as well as qualifications to help others. And I hope people out there are capable of getting help from said psychologists, from said people who are qualified to deal with your problems.
Mhm.
Well, it's an interesting take on how we should properly deal with people's problems. Maybe we should be more prepared over it. We should read up on these situations, and maybe we can be more understanding towards people who are struggling with these issues. All right.
Mhm.
So somebody asked, how do I know if I'm truly depressed or having a mental illness, or am I just sad? How do I truly know? How do I know if I am sad or just I have a mental illness? Give it a question. So, Kak Nga, what do you think? How do people truly identify that they actually have a mental illness, or they're just feeling some temporary mental just sadness?
Right.
How can we?
Okay. Yeah, you can read up about it, but please do not self-diagnose. Self-diagnose is very, very dangerous. It's important to go and get help. It's important to get diagnosed. The thing is, it's better to go to seek a doctor, and then doctors say, "Oh, you're not depressed," than to assume that you're depressed and not get treated. You know what I mean? Okay, try first and most of all, you can try the DASS test, the DASS scale, DASS. Try to do that scale and bring that to the doctor. If your depression scale is higher or highest, then it's something that you need to worry. And also look at your sleeping pattern, your behavior pattern. If you have been sad for too long, like many cry spells, you've been too sad or been crying off and on for 2 weeks, you cannot eat, or you cannot sleep, or your sleeping pattern or eating pattern is disturbed. There are many things to look at, and these are just some of the things that I'm just throwing in here. But if you are affected and you can no longer focus in class or focus in your studies or do things as how you usually are doing or coping, then it's something that you need to consider. Consider going for help. Consider going to the counselor. Perhaps if you have a counselor in the college, go to the counselor. You don't. These are stages, right? We all have, like I said, we all have mental health. So but not everyone has a disorder. But sometimes to get to a disorder, like it's a stage you go through, and don't wait until. Hopefully, please don't wait until it's so bad, it's so severe that then only you go seek help. It's best to seek help when. Sorry, I'm hearing a lot of noise. It's best to seek help when you are already feeling stressed out. Even right now, like you're wondering already if you're sad or you're depressed. That means there's something not quite right there, or something happened. Especially right now with COVID, a lot of loss, a lot of grieving. So don't hesitate to seek out for help. Ask a professional, ask a counselor. But still, if you feel like there's something not quite right, like not sleeping well, not eating well, not focusing, you cannot focus for too long. If it's more than 2 weeks, it's important for you to go and seek help. Yeah. I'm hearing a lot of noises, Amir. I don't know if it's just me but I'm trying to focus here.
Generally, I cannot help with that.
Okay,
I think
that's why.
Goes in around, but it's not very loud for me. I'm very sorry if it's something
That's okay. That's another question right there. Yeah, I'm just saying it because it's the louder I speak, the louder the sound. So perhaps I have to listen.
Okay. So hopefully this next question can just help you just forget about it for now. And speaking of next question, Kanga, can you share us with how to handle social anxiety? Maybe somebody is experiencing some levels of anxiety before they're presenting before a class, or maybe they're just anxiety just to go see someone in particular that they don't feel very comfortable with talking to. So is there any way you can deal with social anxiety in a more proper sense?
That is very interesting. Social anxiety. I have a generalized anxiety disorder. So I have a disorder. Before diagnosis, right? I remember trying to speak in front of a big crowd. I think there was about 500 people. I had my notes in front of me. Okay, I had my notes in front of me on my lap. It was a physical talk, not like this one, right? This one, it's you feel safer like that. So I had my notes on my lap, but I could not read. My eyes were blur. My throat was dry. My lips, my tongue, dryness of the mouth is a symptom of anxiety. And I kept drinking, and I couldn't say, like I was stuck. And I've been in that situation before getting treatment. But now, alhamdulillah, after treatment, I am doing a lot better. But in your case, social anxiety, you have to find out where you are as far as the social anxiety. Is it just an ordinary social anxiety where when you feel like when you meet other people, at first you are feeling worried that you might say the wrong things, or that person might not like you, or things like that? Or is it really social anxiety to the extent of you can't function, you can't be in class, you can't attend classes? So know where you are at the spectrum. Are you severely affected with your social anxiety, or still at the starting phase? Because if you're severely affected, please seek help. You need to seek help for it. If it's just like ordinary normal social anxiety, the more you surround yourself with people who you are comfortable with, the lesser you feel anxious. And one of the things that we can do to help ourselves with anxiety is breathing techniques. You can Google up breathing techniques. One of the things that I myself apply is the butterfly hug. You can also Google that. Find on YouTube. It's where it's like a butterfly hug, like that, and then you tap on your chest in order to regulate your emotions. Because when you're anxious, right, you have there's palpitation, your breathing is out of control, and you feel like really anxious. So butterfly hug will help you regulate your emotions slowly. And also breathing techniques. Find the breathing techniques. Or another way is grounding techniques. You can find grounding techniques on Google, on YouTube as well. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding techniques. 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can hear, 3 things that you can smell, or I can't remember the sequence, but 5 4 3 2 1 grounding technique. Grounding techniques are good because when you're anxious, your mind is all over the place, your breathing is haywire, you become really scared, and you can't focus, you can't listen to what people say, or you become stuck or numb. That's when you do grounding techniques, it will help you to be grounded again, to know or realize that you are safe, that you are not it's in a very scary situation. It's something that you can help yourself to control slowly. So look up butterfly hug technique, grounding technique, and breathing technique. These three are really good for us to help us compose during when we are feeling anxious. And if you are really severe with your social anxiety, exposure therapy will help. I don't know, like I said, it depends on where you are at the severity, at the spectrum. I think we all, to a certain extent, have social anxiety. But if it's too severe, reach out for help. You need help so that you can function and have a more quality life. Yeah. Hope that helps.
Seeing as how there are not very direct ways to get help with social anxiety, or maybe that there are not a lot of ways to help cope with social anxiety, to help them calm them down. It's nice to know that there are some specific techniques we can use to at least calm us down before we do anything mildly. Maybe something that can be in a public setting that we have to deal with the public, or maybe we have to deal with someone, or maybe just to get a person. I understand that that's a very good advice for social anxiety. Thank you. Okay, so last question from the audience. Malay cultures, for example, normally assume having mental health issues is an issue. What is your advice, or maybe what is your opinion on that kind of notion? Yeah.
On that, meaning like we tend to relate Malay culture, tend to relate it with spiritual stuff. Is that what the question is?
Say most people in Malay culture, they see that mental health is mostly an issue. And to you, do you think that is true, or do you think that is not true? And what is your advice for anyone who has actual mental health issues? What do you actually think about mental health in general?
Okay. Number one, I think I feel there's a problem with the saying biar mati anak jangan mati adat, right? There's a Malay saying that says that, and I feel like it's very worrying to apply that in the context of mental health, because in Malay culture we are taught to not talk about our weaknesses or aib, but if you look at mental health issues, right, as needing help, as things that you need to seek help for, just like any other condition, right, or illnesses. Of course, hopefully we don't wait until it becomes an illness, but it's something that you need to work on, that you need to seek help for and talk about. So there's nothing embarrassing about it, unless you go. I mean, especially as long as you don't go on the social media and talk about all the things that is disturbing you, and that, because when you on your social media, if all your friends, if number one, if it's private and they are all your friends who are supportive, that's fine. But if you go on social media and then you get comments and people who are, who have ill intentions and say awful things to you, that's when you become really more stressful and more stressed out and more depressed, right? So it's important to go seek help and speak out. If you need to talk about it, it's okay to talk about it. The problem with Malay culture is we are always we always try to sweep everything under the carpet of shame, rug of shame, and not deal with it. When we don't deal with the situation, when we don't deal with the trauma, when we don't deal with our anger, our shame, our sadness, that's when it becomes a volcano. It's like a magma, like, burning, boiling underneath. One day it could explode. And we don't want to wait until, because, okay, today it's just maybe one bully online. Tomorrow, maybe somebody said something. Next day, it keeps piling up. It keeps building up to a point where it can burst into something else. So my take is like, don't talk if you must, speak out and seek for help if you must. The problem with Malay is we tend to look at mental health issues as tak cukup iman. You're not praying enough, you don't solat enough, you don't read the Quran enough, and I think that's dangerous, because the moment you say that to your peers, or the moment parents or teachers or whoever say that to other people, they would stop these people from opening up, right? Because all you need is for people to listen to you, to validate your feelings, to believe that you are struggling, not to dismiss you, not to say that you're not doing enough, not to say that you don't pray enough. We all know that praying helps with our mental health. We all know that praying would help, calm us down. But that's not the only way to help to calm ourselves down. Not only way to solve problems, right? Just like, when you have a headache, you take Panadols, right? Or
Yeah.
when you have, acne problem, pimple problem, you go to seek doctor. It's just the same way. If you need help, if there's something wrong, something not quite right with your functioning, you need to seek help. And we need to move away from that, from the culture of, being ashamed and not talk about it, because it will affect us much more. It will make us become, will lead us to more worse condition than we are. So
Yeah.
not just prayers.
Yeah. Getting help is definitely something of a challenge of its own.
Right.
Having experienced those types of mental, people tend to do things that they say or maybe they act, and they don't know that they have affected other people. And sometimes people like to say whatever they want to say. Sometimes they want to do whatever they want to do, and then they expect us to feel like, oh, I hope you don't get affected it for the long run. And that is not true. For me personally, I have experienced these kinds of situations with people where I have affected people, and people have affected me the most, where it definitely hurts a lot. And some people think that, especially those who are not, they don't care or whatever, they like to take advantage of people's emotions, and then they think that, oh, that's okay, I can just say whatever they can say, I can say whatever I can say towards them. And I am guilty of that kind of action as well. I have done and said some things that have definitely hurt people before, and I experience regret at the end of the day. I always experience regret over what I've done towards others, and I hope.
You see, Amir, it's very brave of you to say this live, that you have done things that you regret. We all have done things that we have regret, right? But it's okay. We are human. We are human beings, and we make mistakes, right? And it's good that you're owning up to it. But the most important thing is what you do after realizing that you have done, that you have hurt that person, or you've done damage to a person's emotional health or whatever, right? I mean, we all make mistakes, but it's okay to we must own up to them and change that and correct that. And hopefully by having a lot of people like you who can own up to their, be responsible or own up to their mistakes, the world become a better place. And here I see parents, one of the comments say that parents are not understanding when it comes to this. It's true. The older generation they are a lot harder to accept or understand issues on mental health. I myself am struggling at the moment. I'm dealing with, on Awas, there are a lot of 15 years old, 16 years old communicating with Awas, saying that they are depressed, they cannot focus in class, they are suicidal and things like that. And sometimes we try to approach the parents and tell the parents that, your child needs help. Your child needs to, having suicidal thoughts. But I admit that it's not easy. Even parents are refusing to receive the help or receive the support, receive the what we are saying, or be open up to what we're saying. So we ourselves are struggling. If only we could help, because anyone who is under 18 are under are under their parents, and we can't simply take them to the doctor, or we can't simply take them to the counselor, or we can't simply give them help without the parents' consent. So, but we hopefully, with more conversations like this, the more we normalize conversations on mental health, on suicide, hopefully parents become more aware and more understanding. Even if you feel like your parents do not understand, or refuse to understand, or refuse to believe that you're struggling, keep on doing what you're doing. Keep on looking for help. Keep on read up on the mental health issues, and find educational videos on mental health and share with your parents. Try to have healthy conversations like this. If not to your parents, maybe your siblings, your elder siblings, and things like that. Slowly, or find aunties or uncles who are more understanding, and get them to convince your parents, or things like that. Yeah, it will take some time, believe me. Just like graduating, right? Just like graduating, it's not one day work. It's not 2 days work. To graduate with a diploma or a degree, it's it's like a foundation you have to keep building up, and to achieve that, right? So it's the same way. To achieve your parents' approval, to achieve your parents' support, sometimes you need, there are a lot of work to do. And here at Awas, we are willing to help and work with you, support you. If you think you want us to speak to your parents, perhaps it's something we can do, and we have done. But having said that, not everything is smooth sailing, and it's not. Sometimes we are still working on it. It's not a one-night success. So please be patient. Communicate with us. Let us know what are the things that we can do, and perhaps if you think you need us to speak to your parents about this, we are more than happy. The most important thing for us is that you get help. That you don't give up hope on life. We are peers. The people in ours are peers, people who have gone through lived experiences of mental health disorders, and losing loved ones to suicide. And the last thing we want is to lose anyone to suicide. So before that happens, let's not wait until things get worse for us to reach out for help.
Of course, I guess sometimes I get things in the way. And after discussing about my own personal problems, and I'm very thankful for being able to at least share some of my experiences with you, Kana. It's been very nice to experience, to let others just hear out my problems. But what about you? Do you have any experience with any mental health issues before, like more specific problems that you would more willing to share with us now, that you want to tell us? Is there anything specific you want to share with us? Any stories?
Sure. Like I said, I am diagnosed with MDD. What's that? Major depressive disorder and generalized anxiety disorder, or layman terms is clinical depression and clinical anxiety lah. Put it that way. Yeah? I'm still under treatment, and there are days when it's harder than usual. There are days when I'm still struggling, but one thing for sure is that when I lost a loved one to suicide 10 years ago, I still carry the guilt until today. The guilt of not helping, not being able to help, or not being able to save my loved one. And I can see in here, I can see some of my peers who have also lost a loved one. It's a traumatic journey. It's a painful journey, but it's something that we can work on. And I believe in post-traumatic growth. I believe if we are struggling, right, and we look at other people who have done it, who have gone through it, who have achieved it, it provides us hope. it provides us inspiration to keep going. Just like that the motivational speaker who doesn't have arms and legs, Nick something, which I can't pronounce the last name. That guy.
No arms and legs.
Yeah, and he's been on the Everest, right? Sometimes you wonder, like even us, even people who have like complete limbs, arms and legs like us, we haven't gone to Everest, or we haven't. Don't talk about Everest. We haven't gone to Mount Kinabalu, right? And I feel like because we don't have enough motivation to do so, because we take for granted, because Mount Kinabalu is just right there. One day I'll go there. But seriously, if we don't put effort in it, if we don't strive, we don't believe that we can climb it, we will never climb it, right? So it's the same. It's the same. It's the same with any challenges, emotional challenges, or mental health challenges, or graduation. Trying to graduate with a degree or diploma, whatever it is that we want to achieve. It's something that we have to conquer each and every day. We have to keep striving and work on it, and believe that there is such thing as post-traumatic growth, even if we're down, even we have been kicked down, and how do you say that? Like you've been down, and you've been down in the rat and mess, going through all kinds of mess, right? It's something that you can still something you can fight and stand up and pick yourself back and dust yourself and keep on going. Believe in post-traumatic growth. My point is, believe in post-traumatic growth, even if you were down, even if you were in your darkest moments, you can get back up and you can make a difference. And when you are well and when you are functioning, you can make a difference to other people's lives and to your lives. It's really important to hold on to hope. It's really important to know that you can be okay, ultimately, but it has to come with a lot of like effort and dedication to you have to help yourself and allow others to help you in order for you to be better and be well. Yeah,
I agree with that kind of statement. That to me, I always tell myself as well that sometimes whenever you're falling down, or maybe that you have fallen down in your own mental state, the only person that can truly pick yourself up is yourself. I always tell myself that every day, to push myself to do something, even when I'm feeling down for my emotions. I push myself to at least do something productive to help myself from just being stuck in the dark, even after certain events happened in my life. I always tell myself, if I'm going forward, the only person that can go forward is myself. I am the one of the legs and I'm the one of the body. I have to push myself through everything that I need to do. And hearing from your story about needing to push as well.
But would you say, Amir, would you say support from people around you is important as well?
That is something I actually have struggled with.
Okay.
I always think of people around. So not like people understand like because I'm always
I can't hear you.
I'm always scared, I'm always scared of like letting people take advantage of what I truly have problems over. They would understand too much of my weakness, and I've presented my weakness too much when I was young. That is something that I try to control over from letting others understand. Even towards my friends, my family, I always think that keeping it to myself is something that I would rather keep. Not showing my own personal emotions towards others is probably a better thing that I can do for others. But there's always another way.
Well, as long as it's not causing you pain, if you think you are okay that way, that's fine. But if it's affecting you mentally, emotionally, that's when you have to do other things than to just keep to yourself, right? Sometimes it depends on the person's state. Like, one thing that works for you may not work for me, or one thing that works for us today may not work for us in 3 years down the road. Things like that, right? I mean, we have to keep up and change and change with our needs. Sometimes our needs change and we become a different person, or we need to alter our behavior. In order to fit our whatever is relevant to us.
Yes, I definitely agree. Well, it has been a while since we started talking, and I have taken enough of time for everyone. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up our afternoon. As the saying goes, to every beginning there is an ending, and for now, the event has come to its end. Thank you so much towards Awas as well as Miss Adia. Sorry, Ka nga.
It's fine.
Thank you for joining us today. And on behalf of the organizing committees, I would like to apologize for anything that I've said, especially everything that I've done earlier, especially that I am not focusing towards everyone. I'm sorry towards everyone who got confused and then the light just started to turn off. I hope everyone accepts my apology and then accepts that what I've done today is. I'm just hoping that everyone will accept my apology for today. And of course, thank you so much towards Kanga for joining our event today. I end my duty as Master of Ceremony of today's event with Wabillahi Taufiq wal Hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Kanga, for joining us today. And please, everyone, have a nice day. And as always, thank you for joining us. Have a nice one. Thank you, Panalia. Kanga. Thank you so much for joining us
Thank you,
today.
Amir.
It has been a very long ride of discussing, but I hope everyone will understand that today that there is always help. You can always contact us. Of course. Thank you. And goodbye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.